Welcome to the Doctors of Change, the podcast for practitioners, doctors, and healers who refuse to quit. This is where we honor the men and women who have walked through burnout, trauma, breakdowns, and breakthroughs, came out stronger on the other side. These are for the doctors who realized the greatest medicine they could ever practice was healing themselves first. Their stories, their lessons, scars, and victories will change you, inspire you, and wake up the leader within you. This is a new era of medicine, and the revolution starts here. Welcome to the Doctors of Change. Welcome, everybody, to the intro episode of Doctors of Change. I'm so excited to share this movement with you. This began for me in 2009, where I joined Dr. Joel Baumgartner to create one of the world's top volume stem cell center, top outcome producing by research of the IOF network. And we had some amazing impact together. And I did it from a place of unconsciousness. Certainly felt, just as he had, is called to change the world with what I had learned, incorporating lifestyle medicine, regenerative, functional medicine, to make a big impact in the world. And that was my full focus. I'm talking 100-hour work weeks, nothing but sheer dedication, passion, running through walls. I even loved what I did, saw myself as a kind person, and I was unconscious. So Doctors of Change is about those that have been called to do big things, that are doing big things, but recognize their old way of doing, their unconscious patterns, their generational stories were no longer serving them, and they've woken up to a different reality. That could be through a spiritual awakening. That could be from a health crisis. That could be from a divorce. That could be hitting a rock bottom at one way or another and waking up to realize you're not living in alignment or right relationship with those around you in your true potential. And today I'm going to share a little bit about my story, but this is about you, the change makers, the doctors who are doing the work to make a difference. And I'm going to share how this vision, this movement, is dedicated to those that are giving their education, their life, their resources to make a change, because we all know that the current system is not set for transformation. It's set for great management or emergency care. And I'm not here to ever poo-poo anybody else's model. I'm here to lift up what I believe is going to help the greatest amount of people make a big difference and to have it all. That's what this story is. That's my story. That's your story, hopefully. And we can do this together to make a difference. So I'm going to take you back to 2019, where partner Dr. Joel Baumgartner and I were making a big impact. We have over 100 clinics around the world. I'm going to masterminds. We're coaching doctors and training. We have our license model. We have a 28,000 square foot integrated center. We have another center in Minneapolis. And over that time, my body was breaking down and I was dying. So I went to other masterminds, and Dr. Shelley Sethi said, I want you to go see James. She said it before to me. I just didn't quite get it, but she heard my language. And then I was finally in Austin consulting her, actually. And she's like, I want you to go see James. And I went and saw him. When I pulled up to his door, my wife and two daughters were in an accident. He's like, are your daughter okay? And is your family okay? And I'm like, how could you know this? Throughout that session, he brought up other things. And this is completely sober. And he's just like, it's time for you to fly solo. So the things that he brought up were of supernatural nature, and nobody in the world could have known. Even things like my grandma that I had never met, didn't even know her name. I knew my other living grandma who was passed too. And I'm like, are you talking about my grandma Ann? He's like, no, your grandma Leona. She died of malpractice and is super proud of the work that you're doing. And then at the end, I just got done with the Tony Robbins event. He whispered and he says, you are enough. It's time for you to fly solo. Meaning I was out of alignment with my health. Me and Joel weren't seeing eye to eye at that time. So I went back and I made the decision to leave Rejuve, a CEO position, great salary, great impact from the Instagram world. It was everything. The guy told me, once you do that, I want you to come back when you're ready. Is you're ready to go depth. So literally I sold out, gave Joel a deal he couldn't refuse, and left behind everything I knew, wanting to go build my own thing. But I started building it on the same foundation, hustle, grind. So I went back to this guy in December. I had a medicine journey with him. I remember in that medicine journey, he wakes me up and he's like, JR, get out of your head and into your body. What does that mean? And he says, JR, you're going to die early if you don't do something different. Like, what the heck? He says, you might have to leave healthcare because it's become your whole identity and you're just reliving one of your core wounds. I'm thinking, who is this guy talking to me and what does he know? Is this medicine experiences with a shaman, which is, again, outside of anything growing up as a Catholic and a Christian that I've ever experienced. And it's taking me emotionally every direction. And he's laying down some of the hardest truths I could ever imagine. You know, he says, aren't you repeating the same pattern your father before lived? Not present or emotionally available as you went through your challenges as a boy and teen. And here your son's going through the same challenges and problems. And I said, well, I guess, but I'm meant to change healthcare. I'm doing this for my family. She has a beautiful house. She's a stay-at-home mom. I'm home more than my father. And he says, I hope your wife leaves you. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he says, do you know that your family is scared of you? This was a shock to my system. It was a literal shock. I did not know how he could say this kind of stuff. And so I knew it to be true because he says, they're walking on eggshells. You and your wife fight all the time. And, you know, you're so driven to run through walls. I know you don't hit them or hurt them. And I knew it to be true in some way because that's why I was at this experience. Health was failing. My body was failing me. I was continuing to get worse month by month. You know, if I didn't have kids, I probably would have went on my own way at that time. But this experience felt like hot coals on my chest, the amplification of what he's telling me, because in my mind, I was doing this for them. And I was here to always change and grow. The reality and how this felt was unlike anything. In my mind, I was coming to this experience for all of humanity to redefine healthcare, to continue to provide a beautiful life for my family. It's called to make a difference. And he says, JR, you're not even making a difference in your family that is built on your highest purpose and truth, and that you're in your ego. I thought, but I'm humble. I don't see the ego. And he's like, it's different between egotistical and narcissistic, but you're in your ego. Your brain is running the show. In my mind, it was less like, I worked so hard. A gift. My father, the values that I did love about him was a provider. And I even made the agreement with my wife, you take care of the kids and I'll provide. And now here I'm getting this news, dream house, dream cars, dream vacations, and that somehow I felt like the biggest failure in the world. So instead of failure, it felt like Dr. Evil, and I knew I had such a big heart. And like I said, I felt a little crazy because I just left behind Rejuve, and I've started to feel crazy for leaving because I'm learning the hard way is I didn't have the assistant. I didn't have all the big team around me. I'm in a lot of emotional pain in my marriage and my body. We're fighting all the time, the same 3 fights we haven't figured out. Now, what am I supposed to do with this information? My back continues to go out each month, and this is right before COVID hit. I go home. I know I have to double down on my journey because I left behind everything. And my mind was like, someday I will work less. Someday I will be able to build the lifestyle that we dream with. Someday I'll take care of myself. But here I am getting the most crushing news from a guy that's making a bunch of strain notice, covering feathers way outside of my comfort. And if any of you listening would have a hard time believing any of this has any scientific merit. But I just had got a glimpse for the first time that the pain I was carrying and the impact that it was truly having on those that I loved. So I went home after this experience, and I needed the verification, even though I knew there was some truth to it. And I go home heartbroken in all reality. And my beautiful daughter, Livy, is sitting in the corner on this love sack, fluffy things, and everybody else is busy doing their thing. And I get down on one knee and I'm like, Livy, will you please be truthful and honest with me? Don't serve. You're safe. Daddy wants to hear what you have to say. Please be honest with me. And I got down on her level and she says, I won't be mad at you no matter what. I need to know if you're scared of Daddy. And she looks cautiously around, curious, loving eyes, considered what she's about to say. She woke up her own courage and she says, yeah, Dad, especially when you and Mom fight. And in my mind, I would die for them. And I've done everything. And I couldn't believe, like, I did all this for you is what is the noise is going on in my head. And my heart was shattered. To find out that my family was scared of me is opposite of everything I believed I was creating for them. Creating the dream life to creating fear and potentially trauma for them. So in that moment, everything came on and says, would you really live for them? Not just would you die for them? This was the greatest gift I could ever receive, because even though they call that in the medicine world the ego death, it was the thing that brought me back to alignment. But I had to sit and I cried and I cried and I had to face the reality of how I was numbing pain with cannabis, with work, with sedation, of all these addictions that I had my whole life, that I was trading one addiction for the better. I was thinking, I no longer play rugby, destroying my body. I no longer drink. I left the other business to not work 100-hour work weeks to still be, and someday I was going to go. So I sat and I cried, and I began to feel things like I needed rugby to let out my emotions my whole life, or I'd hold it in and I'd finally lash, but I really needed to feel the sadness, the betrayal, the hurt, all the different traumas that I experienced as a child growing up and at different points of my life. So I let myself feel deeply all of those feelings. And I was so shocked that it was all unconscious, that I was repeating these patterns. But at that moment, I knew, after that moment of truth, I couldn't continue to live head up. All logic, all strategy, all in, all performance. I was really excellent at building businesses and solving problems and providing, but I was disconnected from myself, my family, my health, and what really mattered most. And what I didn't realize 6.5 years ago, nearly 7 now, is that the heart is real, that emotions and patterns live in the body, and that what I couldn't solve with strategy actually need to be felt and freed. As we get into this space, there's infinite secrets and intuition and gifts. The more that you learn about your own body and how to move through emotions and the power of this heart, the soul, when you integrate that with the head and heart, is the shifts that can begin to happen in your life. And I realized then that it was time to become the CEO of my life, not just of businesses, not of the boardrooms, but of my inner world, of my relationships, of my presence, of my peace, my joy, instead of living in frustration and fighting to get there, to live in peace and happiness and wise conversations. And so I made a commitment to stop compartmentalizing and to start integrating body, mind, spirit, soul, physical health, not after work, not someday, but right then and there. And that's what I did. So I showed up not just as a provider, but as a partner. I started doing the dishes. I started doing the laundry, stuff that I would delegate, but my wife wanted a partner. And as a parent, the coach of my children instead of just the provider of my children, a whole man. I can tell you over the several years, it wasn't perfect, but it was real. And it was a process, one that on this show, you're going to see revealed talk after talk of similar stories, that one layer of the onion can come away at one time, that we're all in process, that it begins with self-love, that you can't go back, but you can begin today. If you're stuck in fights, addictions, patterns, business caps, the same partners continue to reveal to themselves, that you can create awareness, and this show is going to help guide you through the process. Our community is going to guide you through the process and how to have it all. Even though I'm still human and I have struggles, we all can carry on and have the choice of how we do this different. So now I learn to listen to what my heart's saying. I connect to the power of breath, to the earth and grounding. I hold space for my feelings and others without trying to fix them or change them. I learned that presence isn't weakness, it's our superpower. You can be more grounded, more connected, and even more effective as a leader, as a husband, as a partner. I changed, and I know you can change. And when I did that, the right people started showing up, the right guides, the right teachers. When I get triggered now, I know that's an amazing healing opportunity, because it's stealing my peace and my energy. So instead of hiding in stress or ego, I choose awareness, courageousness, and curiosity every time that something bothers me. And that meant going from the warrior that could run through walls and play rugby to the peaceful, heart-centered, conscious leader that I hope all of you to become, because the world needs it. And that may mean facing your fears, surrendering control, being open-hearted, learning to listen to your gut and intuition, and learn that there's a different pathway. So it's remembering and unlearning some of the patterns that have been implanted in us, softwares based on the environment that we raise, the people that we are around, and that there's a new way through this. And I can tell you what's happened in my life. A few years later is we were in Alaska on a trip of a lifetime with my family and out on the ocean fishing, and the water's a little too choppy to go into the big ocean where we really wanted to go halibut fishing. So we found this sweet spot. The sun is shining. Whales are jumping everywhere around us, and everybody on the boat's reeling in one fish after another. And the guide handed my son a rod, and all of a sudden this little rod, well, it's a big rod, but not the size of the halibut rod, it's fully bent over, and he's like, I need help. So I got behind him, and I held the rod above his hand and below his hand. And he's like, Dad, it's getting too heavy. And I said, just keep reeling. It continues to go. This is not like the 2 or 3 minute fights, all the rest. It's like we're 10, 20 minutes. And he's like, Dad, I can't hold this anymore longer. I'm like, son, when you have your people around you, you can get through hard things. You can push harder than you know, but you don't have to do it alone. You do it supported. You have the strength to get through. And I'm repeating the words that through my darkest moment, I wish a guide or somebody told me, because it felt like I was alone. I felt lonely. That's part of this remembering process, is you're not alone. Your loved ones, God is always there with you, and that you can. And I always send this mantra to them is, where Burgess, I am, I can, and I will. And he's struggling and he's wanting to give up. I'm like, no, I'm right here with you. Let's go. Keep going. And it was such a powerful fight. And all of a sudden, my arms were numb, and for good reason. The guide keeps saying, I can see it. It's almost there. He throws that gaff down, pulls this halibut up. It's huge. It's bigger than my son. It starts flopping. They hit it. And as they're all celebrating, all of our family on the boat, I just break down and I start crying. And my family's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, no, it's all good. To truly feel absolute bliss, joy, love. It was like feelings that I've held from, and it's just like, it's okay to cry. If you're a man in here, that gets numbed, and it's like, don't get real with your emotions, and there's such power in your emotions. All I could do in this moment was cry, because I was so present. It was in one of the most beautiful scenes of my life. Everybody was happy and living their best life. I felt the power of the Holy Spirit deep in my soul, and it was a peace and a bliss at the same time. And it was the best natural high that I've ever felt in my life. Super, super powerful. That is what we're here to talk about. In that moment, I knew I'd become the father that I always wanted my dad to be, even though he had his beauties and his values. But really, that type of moment, I believe every parent deserves to feel. I believe every entrepreneur can feel so connected to their team, their purpose, and do it in a conscious way that isn't based on fear, scarcity, and have these conversations that lift everybody up, to help your patients, to help yourself, to help your family, to help create community with your team members, because those old ways of the 100-hour work weeks are fading away. People now with AI are going to want to work less. There's efficiencies and automation like ever before, and we're going to bring on those experts. And what we need is presence, love, impact, win-win-win scenarios versus extraction, so we can do business different. And for me, it took a moment of courage to leave my dream opportunities, one after another, and more that I'll share along the way. I just wanted to give you the intro for this whole show, because there's been journeys over the last 6.5 years that have led me since the moment I left Rejuve is literally 6.5 years. What I learned is what you're going to learn. And it took me courage to leave. And it's because I was out of alignment. Nothing that he did wrong. Even though we had an interview that's going to be coming out that shows this full circle moment as we begin to collaborate again. And it took a psychedelic medicine experience for me and some hard confrontation to wake me up. You may not need the same. There's different pathways to the same thing, and we're going to be exploring all those. But it took me to wake up to the pain that I was holding and the cause and the challenges that I was bringing that was outside of me. It took me thinking that I was right to actually look at the things that were causing pain. And for you, this could be addictions. It could be your job is out of alignment. It could be a way of being or beliefs, just like mine, that I continue to unpack that don't serve my next chapter and my highest purpose. So even after I went to this highest mastermind I've ever been at this last weekend, it is continually realigning to belief of my highest potential and the greatest potential, and letting go of the things piece by piece that no longer serves. So this is a process that doesn't happen overnight. But when you're in the right community, you can do it. You know, those family things that continue to pop up, whether they're addictions, abuses, things that they don't talk about. These are beliefs that don't serve you anymore. And for you, it could be forgiveness, or it could be to stop sweeping the family pain in this history under the rug. I love that song, you know, in that movie, Encanto. We don't talk about Bruno. All these things that you're not willing to face, they're impacting your health, your family, your legacy. And the most powerful medicine out there is not in some technology or strategy. It's not in some treatment or chemical, but in your relationship to yourself, your highest calling, the relationship to your family. And your journey to happiness and success does not have to be lonely, frustrating, or bumpy. So we created this community. It can be joyful, it can be fast, it can be lasting. I just like to do things the hard way and the extreme way, which I've now gotten out of that relationship and belief. And that's what this show's here to talk about. So to repeat, for those of you new to me, I've owned and been part of the highest volume and highest producing outcome regenerative medicine model. I built one of the world's largest biohacking center in Miami, Florida. I've been with some of the amazing visionaries in pain, Dr. Dinesh Mazlumduz, and in neurology, Dr. Ken Charlin, the greatest outcome-based model that I've seen in Parkinson's and neurodegenerative, and Dr. Greg Eckel, what me and Joel built. I've been a part of some smaller, amazing, groundbreaking visionary models as a fractional CEO, COO, and Chief Revenue Officer the last 6 years. And these patterns, these systems, and solutions remain the same. I can tell you the problems with every practice. It's either these visionary doctors aren't great at building team. That's why me and Joel went so far and so fast together. I did the business. He was the visionary doctor. If you're another type of visionary doctor out there, you struggle with marketing and investing into the automation in the scale and investing high-end energy. People do that. They go invest in marketing, but they don't have the sales foundation. Or you're really good, but you're not organized in your business operations. The same core 4 or 5 problems exist and patterns exist in every practice. And I've held all these roles. I don't like to do and give myself any name but coach. But what I am is a CXO. I've been the CFO, I've been the COO, I've been the CEO, and I can get on a call with you. I can spend a day with you, and I can see the patterns, the problems, and the things. And if you're ready to face them, we can solve the business strategies. But unless you get vulnerable, get truthful, let go of your beliefs, get aligned with your health and your mission, no strategy can take you here. But to have it all, unless you're already that close and just need the little tweaking, you're going to have to look at it all. So I've been blessed to be a part of some of the top healthcare visionary practices that are having big impact, and we're here to have that. I'm going to help you with your true roadmap to truly create impact in the world that is serving your patients, serving your team members, and absolutely serving you and your family. And so part of that true roadmap that we're going to be bringing down in these visionary leaders one after another is how to transform. TRUE is an acronym that starts with T. How to transform from the inside out. If you're trying to externally look for a solution or a fix and you're not doing the work inside, just like I wasn't. I was going to masterminds, getting all the strategies and solutions, but I was not looking inside. I was not taking radical ownership of every decision. I was not aware of the program that my brain was running. That's where it begins. Then the R starts. We have to have the roadmap, the guides of the right business strategy of those that have done it. But then we personally got to get into the right relationships, the R, with substances, with our family, with our children. This is the willingness, not just the desire to change, but the willingness to actually do the change, to create the structure, to clear the stuff that's blocked. This is the confrontation part. It begins with being aware and actually knowing that you're responsible, but actually having the structure, the strategy, the accountability to be coached through making it happen. I needed guides and coaches. I still do. So I still go to those masterminds. If you're trying to do it solo, I'm not saying you can't. I will never put a cap on you, but I'm saying, like, how far and how fast do you want to go? You can do it alone, but you don't have to. And then the U is the unconscious, the bringing the awareness and unlocking peak performance. Layer of onion at a time. And the more work you can continue to do, you will unlock peak performance. And the E stands for excellence. Your greatest success is, again, taking ownership in all these areas of your practice. Personal pillar, business pillar, the marketing, the sales, the structure in your own home, and doing it in an expert community. Doing alone is difficult. It's hard if you don't have people that are like-minded or going through the same process. And we're going to give you those opportunities to do so. So I'm super excited to take you through this process, because the world doesn't just need more high performers. It needs integrated conscious leaders who lead from wholeness, from presence, from heart. And that's when you'll be leading at the top of your game in business, in health, and in life, truly tapping into your full capacity and helping usher in the future that we all want to live in. Just know you have the power. You always have. I always have. And that you're the creator of your story. This is no different than Mario Brothers 101. If the little turtle's coming and all Mario does is run into it without hitting the A button to jump over it, your next level is by learning the new system, the strategy, and being the creator. So it's time to claim. My friend Josh Trent always says, if you can breathe and you're here now, you can choose. Let's get aware. Let's get real. Let's get truthful, because truth, you've heard, will set you free. God point us in the right direction and give us the strength and courage to continue to show up, because strategy alone is not enough, in my opinion. So excited to have you here. I want to create awareness and you to go home today and be like, what is that pattern that keeps you stuck? Is it the addictions? Is it the beliefs? Is it the thoughts? Is it the environment? Is it the lack of guidance structures of those that have done it? And we usher in 2026 of shedding out what no longer exists and stepping in to the next wave. We need more doctors of change just like you. As above, so below. What's happening in the outer world, chaos, the fear, the trust issues, the stress you're carrying, unmet expectations, emotional reactions and breakdowns, the resistance, is a direct reflection of your inner state. It's a mind virus that all came from our environments, from programming and media, that brings separation versus love, trueness. So we see this in the reoccurring problems. Your team doesn't follow through. Business isn't scaling. Your health is getting worse. Your marriage or your relationships are getting worse. So the instinct is to go get the marketer, the new owner, the new partner, the new biohacking tech, to blame the world. But if the foundation is cracked, you're leading from misalignment. How do we come back? How do we repent? How do we come back to right relationship instead of overcompensation? Do not build this 2026 on sand. Let's build on a foundation that is unbreakable. That is my story number one. I'm excited to continue to bring you along this journey and to truly transform. So thank you all. I'm really looking forward to bringing you other doctors who are changing the world, and they've had to wake up that they were the controller and creators of their next steps. God is here to bring you as long as you're willing to grab a hold of the controller, create awareness, take different actions, be in community, get the support and guidance that you need. I love you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for trusting. I ask you to show up, be curious, be open, and be courageous, because that's what it's going to take. But it doesn't have to be as long and winding, as bumpy as it was for me. I had a lot of stuff as a child that a lot needed to get out of the way. For you, could just be a couple tweaks, but own it. Ownership is the path to freedom and responsibility and values and truth. Those are the pathways that unlock this all. Thank you, and we'll see you next time for another episode of Doctors of Change. Thank you for being here. When you heal yourself, you change your family. When you change your family, you change your community. When you change your community, you change the world. That's the mission. That's the movement. Stay committed, stay courageous, and stay connected to the purpose that called you into helping others in this thing we call medicine. We'll see you on the next episode of the Doctors of Change.